Hey, man, we finna run this back, man. Another Bulls video for you all. On your head top right now, listen, the Chicago Bulls do not have a pick this, first pick. They don't keep their number 11. Vooch didn't cost us that. AK didn't cost us that. But there's a lot of things that can happen this season and this offseason, and we want to talk about it, man. We want to talk about the potential of us making some trades. The new CBA is kind of forcing some teams to make some moves. We got my man Pat, the designer, right here, who's gonna break it down with me. Man, y'all get in tune with us. You know what we doing on this. We gonna get this going on this morning show, man. Pat, how you feeling today?
Hey man, the Bulls still suck. All right, bet. No, I mean, it is what it is. I feel like what I expected to happen happened, and I was sad because I made myself believe when it got to 12 that we might have a chance.
You know what? I'll be honest with you, man. The move was the move. We liked the move when it happened. The unfortunate part was, it didn't shape up to be what we thought it was. But it's not like Vooch is a bad player. It's not like Vooch isn't a top 10 player at his position. Like Vooch may not be out there dropping 40 and 10 like AD did today, or this 35-point triple double like Jokic. Man, that's a crazy game, by the way. Dude had like 36, 21, and 14. Like, who the heck does that? So Vooch may not be that, and I think people forget that. People forget the fact that, hey, there is a levels to this. There's Jokic, there's AD, and then you kind of get to Vooch where he's about 6 or 7, but he's 6 or 7 out of the entire league.
Yeah.
He's like one of the league leaders in double doubles. He finds a way to be effective. He's one of our most consistent players in a lot of these. Like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get the hate. Like, I don't see what people want.
I
But
mean, I
now,
think people thought he was going to be this floor spacing big man, but I think people forget that the thing that led to him being a floor spacer was him starting off in the paint and being able to do what he wanted to do. That doesn't happen here in Chicago. So now you look at these picks, and realistically, right? I think shout out to Mark K. We had him over on Locked On Bulls today for CHGO. And when you look at the picks that we gave up for Vooch, and the reason that we want to get into kind of like how this team looks and what's really the issue with us moving forward with stuff like that is because I look back at AK. AK came into the season and said, we're okay with not having a point guard. We're okay with waiting on Lonzo Ball. I really believe they thought Lonzo was coming back. I fully 110% believe because Lonzo's on the calendar. Yeah. Remember when they did the schedule drop and they had all the players on? Lonzo's on the calendar. I fully believe they thought Lonzo was coming back. Lonzo didn't come back. I still give you a sin because you're counting on a dude's health that's never been healthy. That's like me counting on Derrick Rose's knees holding up with him being a starter for 82 games.
But the flip side is who could he have gone after? And when you look at it, a lot of the premier point guards who would put your team in a better position, they weren't going anywhere. We had no pieces to really trade outside of that. Like, we were handicapped. Like, this was an all-in move. I appreciate the fact that he made it. It put us back on the map. They were talking about the Chicago Bulls like they are now talking about the Chicago Bears for a good moment, being a top 10 in the East, things of that nature. Like, we had the buzz for a minute. Yep. We had the wave when Lonzo was on the floor. Like, we had those moments. I don't want people to totally get bogged down with the fact that it didn't work out simply because you can't control injuries. If LeBron James gets injured right now, the Lakers are done.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie to you. I was looking at that man history today because I'm going through. I'm having a tough time over here as a Jordan fan, y'all, because I'm sitting here looking at this man Bron's health history and everything, and I'm just like, hey man, like this dude's starting to do stuff that I can't combat no more. That's a whole nother video out there. That's a whole nother thing.
Nothing that Kareem ain't did. He's Carmelo with rings.
Hey, that's the best power forward in the NBA. And arguably one of the best players in the NBA. Karl Malone with rings literally goes down as one of the greatest players in NBA history. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just sitting here. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and we view Mike very different because he just snatched the rings up off of Mike. So,
well, I say
that makes Mike 4-6 in the finals and not 6-0, and that's a big argument out there. But anyway,
that's a different video, man. That's a different video. We got to talk about it. I would say this: he is the king of longevity. I appreciate what he's doing. I appreciate the fact that Bron is who he is. He's still just Kareem to me.
Kareem's an all-time like great, but okay.
Yeah, Kareem was number 2 the moment he retired.
Yeah.
And Jordan hadn't got 6 rings at the time. Just put that into perspective. And with that being said, man, we're going to get into this Bulls team right now. And one of the things, man, I want to talk to you about this article I saw earlier today, man. They had this article that talked about DeMar DeRozan actually being potentially traded as Chicago ponders some trade. This is a Yahoo Sports article.
Yeah.
And one of the things they talked about is DeMar DeRozan being traded potentially for a DeAndre Ayton. And the moment the Phoenix Suns lost, everybody was like, no, with that, like, don't bring DeAndre Ayton here. But what does it actually mean? Like, what could it actually do for the Chicago Bulls? And what is your take on that?
I don't think Ayton has heart. Here's what I'll say, and y'all can say whatever you want. Oh, you ain't never played at this level. You've never done it at this blah, 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 right? The players are talking about the players that are in the league. DeAndre Ayton should never get shut down by a dude named Maxi Kleber. DeAndre Ayton should be able to figure out how to at least somewhat defend Nikola Jokic. DeAndre Ayton looked like a child. And listen, it's not to say he should stop Jokic, but he should take on that task. He should take on that. Heck, Kevin Garnett put out a video. Kevin Garnett ain't been in the NBA in 10 years. And Kevin Garnett put out a video on how he would attack. I think, right, like last season, 2013, right? 10 years, legit. Maybe a little later. No, 2013, I think. That was the last iteration of that Nets team.
I think it's 13, 14. It could be. He could have retired. I know he retired before Kobe.
No. You know what? I'm tweaking. He might be 15 because he went back to Minnesota. He went back to Minnesota for like 2 years, something like that.
He still retired before Kobe.
He'd still retired before Kobe, yes. But here's the right. Like, I see how this guy's mind is like, this is how I would attack Jokic. This is how I would stop Jokic. And for me, right, DeAndre Ayton's a guy who has all the talent in the world. He should be an unstoppable force. He can shoot the basketball. He can drive the basketball. He can defend anybody and their mama. But when I watch his game, I don't believe I don't think that he puts basketball above me just being happy in a situation. Me just being, okay, I'm on this team that's winning right now, but I'm not the reason we're winning, so I'm going to just do whatever I got to do. Because I've watched him in 2 playoff series now, absolutely look like a child every time. And he's one of the biggest people out there. He should be one of the strongest people out there. Winners work, right? I can tell y'all ain't been winning a whole lot in the playoffs because y'all ain't did a lot of work out here.
I have to give a little flack to Monty on this. It's 2 things. One, I do think there's a sense of entitlement when it comes to Ayton. I think Ayton believes, and maybe rightfully so, that he's a more talented player than he gets to show, and that his attitude and not being a professional really leaked over. So I think his maturity is one of the things. So I absolutely agree with you. I don't think it's lack of heart.
I believe was a question on him coming out of college. I don't remember that exactly, but I think that was a question mark on him.
Yeah. When I look at him, I think of lack of maturity, not lack of heart. Because I don't think he can handle not being one of the, first, not being option 1 or 2 in an offense. And I think that's really been an ego hit for him. And no matter what moves Phoenix has made, he's always the 3rd or 4th option, which I don't think necessarily fits his skill set in the first place. I'll be honest with you.
I don't agree with that, though. Because realistically, if you look at what Chris Paul was there, you talk about 14 points and 9, 10 assists. Chris Paul ain't been taking no ton of shots in Phoenix.
Well, you have to look at it from this aspect. I looked at his game, and I saw Rudy Gobert a little bit, and what I mean by that is when he got the ball considerably, he actually has a high conversion rate. So meaning his field goal percentage is freakishly high.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the last playoff games right now, and out of all the playoff games, there's 2 games where he got less than 10 shots. Even when he got those 10 shots, he was nearly 50%.
Yeah.
The other games, first game against Denver, 7 for 11, 7 for 10. The last game, 7 for 12. He's shooting a relatively high clip. Now, I've watched those games. I saw that he did look a little more timid. I also saw that he wasn't necessarily getting the ball in particular spots. I don't think he's a good matchup for Jokic. And I'll tell you this, I don't think he's a center. I think he's
even if he's a 4, right? Like, I think here's the thing. One, you're playing mostly 4s night in and night out. How many Jokic is in the NBA? Right?
Well,
Like,
that's
I'm
who he got
sorry.
exposed against. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I get you, but no, because he also got exposed against Maxi Kleber. Maxi Kleber is 6'8". In a series where Chris Paul was out, and I believe Devin Booker missed a couple of those games, and DeAndre Ayton was the only option. I'm pretty sure those were the games that we talked about. Campaign actually coming out, putting on a little bit of a show. Jay Crowder played pretty nice, right? Like DeAndre Ayton, I believe, had 2 10-point performances against a team that didn't have a dude over 6'9".
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a problem. And it's I get you on the shots and stuff like that. Like, but for me, right, if I were to trade for a guy like DeAndre Ayton, I want to know that guy is going to say, give me the ball. It's my same issue with AD. All of a sudden, AD's turned back into New Orleans AD, and I love it. But I was looking for New Orleans AD in LA for 3 years because AD used to go down there and say, my ball. He set himself up in a post, my ball. Let me get that. Let me get that up off of you. I want that. And that's what LeBron was looking for in a running mate. Now, granted, right, he ain't been healthy, blah, blah, blah. With DeAndre Ayton, with DeAndre Ayton, no, DeAndre Ayton been healthy. DeAndre Ayton been out there. And I'm going to be honest with you. There was many a times where he was matched up with Aaron Gordon or Michael Porter Jr. Two dudes. Aaron Gordon, a better defender in Denver. I'll give him credit on that. But he ain't a great
Aaron Gordon's
defender.
a good defender.
He's a better defender in Denver. But when you get Michael Porter Jr. on you, I'm sorry, bro. Hey, yo, mismatch, ball. I need that. And even Shaq and Chuck, they would, like, I know it's the old school versus the new school mentality, but like, listen, like, I'm not, even Kobe said this, right? He's like, I'm not giving you the ball if you're not working to get the ball. I'm not giving you the ball if you're not putting yourself in a position for you to go out there and get the ball. And the thing I see most with DeAndre Ayton is DeAndre Ayton ain't working to get the ball.
But a lot of times those plays ain't called for me. It's two things happening at the same time. And again, I'm definitely not saying you're wrong, because I agree. I agree that he showed a lack of heart in a lot of these games. But I also look at the why. I look at the situation he has with his coach. There's a famous clip where he says, I ain't talked to Monty. And I looked at that and I was like, man, in that series.
He had beef. He wasn't happy.
Yeah,
or he isn't happy.
Yeah, I have beef with that. I've also watched a considerable amount of Suns games before the KD trade, and I'll be honest with you, and I did it because I like Devin Booker, and I think that Zach LaVine could be a Devin Booker type player.
Yeah.
But I didn't see them utilize Aiden the same way, and that did rub me kind of the wrong way, simply because I do believe that he could do more. Like, Aiden, unhappy, not getting a lot of shots, is still 18 and 10. Yeah. Guess what? That's exactly what Vooch puts up.
Yeah. But the thing is, right, like the statements you said, is he going to be happy if he comes to Chicago? And
without a DeMar, he'd be the clear second option.
But realistically, we got to get a point. So
Absolutely.
You're the clear second option. Like, you're the option that, like, you're going to get shots that Zach don't take.
Absolutely. But here's the thing, though. We have to make a move. Vooch may not stay. Right.
I agree with that.
We do think that DeMar is going to be on the move simply because he's one of the most valuable pieces. And I don't think that kind of works out. I still compare it to Boston, and even JJ Redick has mentioned it. There's a lot of redundancies in skill set. And when you have too many redundancies in skill set, it's almost like, okay, listen, we got to shake this up. Like, Jaylen Brown does not get off at the same time as Jason Tatum. When Jason Tatum was cooking, it's all or nothing with Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
And that's cool. Like, that's your star player. There's nothing wrong with that. But you totally diminish and take away what Jaylen Brown does, and you force him to be a role player when he's not a role player. He's really just not. And the way that team is constructed, they just have something. Boston's had too much talent in the first place. And what does that have to do with Chicago? Chicago, they have too much redundancy at the same spot. DeMar does exactly what Zach does.
In a lot of positions.
He does exactly what Zach does.
Well, I don't agree with that. I don't agree that he does exactly what Zach does, because DeMar can't shoot like Zach. DeMar can shoot the mid-range like Zach, but DeMar can't shoot the 3-ball like Zach. The problem is Zach can't shoot the 3-ball like Zach when Zach also has to be your point guard.
I would argue that DeMar could shoot the 3-ball better than Zach could learn to shoot the mid-range. Because if you're a good shooter, you're a good shooter. Learning to step out a little further is easier than trying to slow your game down,
Well,
going
I
from
mean,
long range to short range.
he took more this year and he shot a worse percentage.
Well, he took more.
Think he took 4 this year. He shot 33%.
Who DeMar?
I think so. I think that's where his 3-point percentage is. It's not good. It's not good. I think he took 3 3-pointers a game this year. It's like 33%.
DeMar DeRozan, he's 32.
That's wow. I was giving him a little credit out here. I rounded up.
By the way,
like, he's not
it's
good.
his career high.
Yeah, he's not good. It's okay. It's okay. Listen, he's an assassin at what he's good at. He's an assassin. Do I think that he'll never be able to learn the three? No, that's stupid because he's an NBA player. And I think that if he ever said, I'm going to just focus on working on threes in an offseason, he probably could knock down threes, right? Michael Jordan got to a point where he could shoot threes. Freaking Vince Carter wasn't even a 3-point shooter like that. He got to a point where, not Vince Carter, I'm tweaking. Jason Kidd was a horrible 3-point shooter and got to the point where he was knocking them joints down. Now, you know what I mean? Like, he was horrible. That man, I think his career percentage finished at like 30% even, maybe 31. Like, he was horrible in the beginning of his career, but they also didn't take a ton of them. You know what I mean? So I just think that I think they do different things, but I think that you have to very much. Here's where I'll say Boston and Chicago are similar. They do different things. I think Jaylen Brown and Tatum do as well because Tatum's 7 foot, so it's different with how he gets his shots.
And nobody talks about that.
But
that
you
dude
need
like
it. He's 7 feet tall. It's insane out here. But you need Marcus Smart and/or Malcolm Brogdon to separate what they do and when they do it. And I think that at times, right, if Jaylen Brown is on, Marcus Smart's going to keep feeding Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown's knocking down shots. That doesn't allow Tatum to get himself into a rhythm. And the fact that we're talking about him in a rhythm, that's a whole different thing. That it's very much like Zach LaVine, right? Like Zach LaVine's very willing to defer until that hot quarter comes. So I think that tells me how important the point guard position is. But I do think that you could find success with this team if you did swap some pieces around and just had and took away the two of them together and added, because what people don't talk about is what the conversation we're having here. DeMar DeRozan with DeAndre Ayton or for DeAndre Ayton is changing things. Now you have Zach LaVine in a clearly defined role.
And I think that's the move they should make.
Yeah.
I've been preaching that. And if you all watch the lives, you all have heard me say, hey, you need to know who your alpha is, and then you need to let him go run wild. And that's what they started to do that second half of the season.
100%.
They made sure that Zach got the ball. They ran the offense through Zach, and he went off. He was going off. Now, it didn't always equate to wins, but we saw the Zach that we were all waiting for. We saw 215 Zach because we were talking about his contract all year. And we saw DeMar DeRozan kind of pick his poison and pick his spots. I would love for DeMar DeRozan to be traded to a situation in which he can get a ring. I do think he's one of the few players in the league I say deserve a ring. I do believe that he deserves the opportunity to win. We're not a contender right now. And that actually opens up a lot for us. And so this DeAndre Ayton thing is one of the hottest topics, but I think people also miss out on the fact that there's a lot of other teams that you could actually trade for. And there's a lot of other moves you can make. Like Russell Westbrook is a free agent.
Listen, y'all know my
Russ has made PG MVP candidate. Russ has got KD MVP candidate. Russ has done it. And I have to admit, I wasn't the biggest Russ fan, but Pat mentioned it. He was absolutely right. I got to give him his props on the air because I smoked him on the air. I gotta say I was wrong on the air.
I don't know if you smoked me. I'm on that. Hold on.
Oh yeah, I smoked. No, what I mean by that is like you said it and I disagreed. I was like, that's cap.
That's not smoke out here, dog.
I mean, hey, listen, I talked about you. I said it was a dumb thing.
We had a back and forth on it, but I think that there was a conversation. I don't know if
it was a conversation. We had a conversation.
I think that it's like, here's the thing. Even if you keep DeMar, if you have an opportunity, I think the tough part is, right, I think Russ wants to stay in LA. I think he's at a point in his career now where he wants to be with his family. I think he wants to be by his family, and his wife said they're not moving no more. So, You know, she not following him around no more. so
They got some of the best rentals in the world in Chicago. What you talking about? Like they don't have to move.
No. She said
Hey,
she said the kid's too old basically to be pulling them out of school, starting their whole lives over, moving them to different cities, stuff like that. They stay in LA. And Russ is cool with that. Now, that don't mean that the Clippers want Russ back, but I'm pretty sure Paul George wants Russ back. I think Ty Lue wants Russ back. Russ did continue to make them better. And so I think that to me, right, like
he kept them in that series when they had so many injuries.
If you have any shot at Russ is the obvious answer to me. It's not even a question. You're getting that guy that can be the Chris Paul to Zach LaVine. You're getting that guy that can define the roles of the players you have on your team. And you're getting a guy that's a leader. No matter what we say, here's the main reason why I wouldn't want Deandre Ayton on this team. Patrick Beverley's gone. Who's your leader? It wasn't Zach. It wasn't Zach all season. We saw that. It wasn't DeMar.
You got to give him an opportunity to be.
DeMar, listen, DeMar, they both had opportunities because wasn't nobody speaking up. Everybody was just like, hey, man, we're going to figure this out. There was nobody that was saying, you know, we got to do this. We got to make this happen. We got to. And then all of a sudden, right. And the only reason I say it that confidently is because Pat Bev was here a day.
It changed.
And he said Zach LaVine shooting. I don't know what y'all think is going on here, but he need to shoot the basketball.
Yeah.
So that tells me that there's no leaders on the team that are really defining your role. They just relying on Billy Donovan to do it. And listen, I think Billy Donovan's a fine NBA coach. He's going to be good. He's a lot better if he has Hall of Fame talent on his team. I don't think we got Hall of Fame talent, right? Well, man, I mean, DeMar might get there. DeMar probably going to get there.
DeMar's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
DeMar's probably going to be a Hall of Famer.
I think Zach has the opportunity to be a Hall of Famer.
Not right now. He got to win a lot.
Oh, yeah, no.
He got to score a lot. He got to win a lot.
There. By the end of his contract, if he stays healthy, I think Zach LaVine could run off a stretch where he's Hall of Fame worthy.
Well, let's hope so.
I believe that.
Let's hope
I do believe
because that means we're doing stuff in the right direction. But
if T-Mac got there, I mean, he could get there.
Anybody's free game. I just feel like, right, like that's it's always smoke for T-Mac. And I really do love T-Mac. It's just that I really do. Like, that's the part nobody's gonna talk about. I really love T-Mac. Like, hey, T-Mac was unstoppable. I ain't gonna lie to you. That season Kobe be talking about, T-Mac was cooking the league. T-Mac was out there. It was like, hey, bro, what? The only thing stopped T-Mac was T-Mac's body.
Dude, Reggie Miller, when he found out he was NBA top 75, he was legitimately shocked.
Oh, yeah.
Reggie Miller was like, yo, what? There's so many other players you walk up. Me? He was genuinely shocked.
Yeah.
T-Mac talked like he knew he was going to go to the Hall of Fame. It was like, dog, ain't no way in the world. Ain't no way in the world. Hey, come on, dog. Listen, anyway. T-Mac, I love you, bro. I do. Ain't no way in hell you thought you was going to be guaranteed the Hall of Fame, bro. Ain't no way. Come on. Hey, we gonna
anyway, the point I was making was that when you look at this team, the fact that there's no leaders on it.
He wore that gold jacket. He wore whatever color that jacket was.
Hey, that jacket gold. When you look at it, it's like a burgundy brown or something like that.
Whatever it is, he earned it. Like
when you realize the fact that there's no leaders on this team, or there's no people that are at least going to step in the forefront. What are you adding DeAndre Ayton to that we both believe has maturity issues, that we both believe has issues with playing with enough heart, or for you said, right, just not playing up to par. All right, like that means you're adding in a problem that can play to a couple of problems that can play. Because the biggest problem on this team right now is leadership. Nobody's being held accountable. Nobody's going to that next level.
Well, let me ask you this, because you bring up a very interesting point, and this is the time where we've had some really good coaches let go. Are we actually asking the wrong question? Like you just mentioned, there's no leadership, and we have no players on the floor leading. It falls on your coach to set the tone. It falls on your coach to right this ship and actually bring that level of leadership so people know what to do and what's going on. It took us to get Patrick Beverley for that to actually look like it was doing something. Yeah. And it almost looked like Patrick Beverley at times was like, hey, Billy, this is what we need to be doing. Like, and we know Patrick Beverley's that type of player. Is Billy Donovan really the problem? Like,
Here's
is Billy Donovan going to set the same tone as a Mike Budenholzer or Doc? What heck, no, not Doc. But like,
Mike
there's a lot of
Budenholzer. Talk about
it's
Mike
some
Budenholzer.
people who it's a lot of people who who just got let go with winning records. Who some of them I think can really coach. Who I think set a tone.
Here's what I'll say. Coaches look great with star players.
Absolutely.
Doc Rivers won when he had more star players than the rest of the league had. The
absolutely.
Monty Williams won when you add Chris Paul to a team that had Devin Booker that was able to go out there and cook and had incredible depth. But you had two guys. You had two guys who were well, I think that's more just ownership. I think the ownership probably didn't see eye to eye with new ownership coming in, right? Like they were just like, I gave you Kevin Durant, you couldn't win. I bet we out here.
You gave me Kevin Durant, but you took all my bench players.
You took everybody else, right? But right, like here's the thing about Monty Williams. I've watched I don't think Monty Williams' system has changed vastly. I've watched Monty Williams be the head coach of teams that didn't win. I watched Doc Rivers be the head coach of teams that didn't win. I've watched Mike Budenholzer be the head coach of teams that didn't win. Actually, he might have had a winning record the whole time. Nah, he was coach of a couple teams that didn't win, right?
Mike Budenholzer has won Coach of the Year with two different organizations.
Yeah, when he had ISO Joe and Al Horford and Josh Smith and Kyle Korver and who was the point guard on that team? Drew Holiday? Jeff T.
Bro, you named a lot. You named some good players, but you didn't name a lot of all-stars. The way that system was ran.
I literally just gave you 3 all-stars.
Like, what I mean by that,
actually, I gave you 4. Actually, no, I gave you 5 all-stars. Wait a minute.
Did you give me 5
all-stars? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about that season. They were all all-stars that season?
Yes. The whole team, I think, was all-stars that season. Maybe Josh Smith didn't make it. But I'm pretty sure everybody else on that team were all-stars that season. They had the best record in the East. But I think here's the thing, right? Like, to me, players matter more. Players set the tone.
I might have cooked myself on that one.
Your players are the ones that dictate, right? Like Billy Donovan was a great head coach when he had Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook and Paul George and Chris Paul, right? Like that last season with Chris Paul, we talked about how OKC overachieved. We didn't talk about how they struggled their way into the playoffs. We said, well, yeah, there's no rust there. You got a bunch of young players. Shea, literally, if Shea doesn't make one mistake, they move on to the second round. That the players are going to put you in your best positions to be successful no matter what. And Mike, I don't think Mike Budenholzer,
he didn't have the people you think he had.
By the end, he didn't. But the year that they had the best record in the NBA,
the year that they won 60 games,
that team had Kyle Korver, they had Joe Johnson, they had Josh Smith.
Johnson is not on this team.
When they won 60 games, then they had Al Horford.
They did have Al Horford. They have Jeff Teague. They had Paul Millsap.
Paul Millsap is the one that I've
Thabo Cephalosha.
Thabo gross.
They had nobody average more than 17 points a game.
Yeah, they were the Spurs. Remember, that was the whole thing. They were the Eastern Conference Spurs. They got cooked by LeBron because couldn't nobody average more than 17 points a game.
Bro, this is crazy. But for him to take this collection of players right here, for him to get the best record in the East,
it's not crazy, bro. The East was trash.
I mean, no, I want to keep the same energy. All the
listen, he got it, but listen, it was a lot of bad basketball played in the East that year.
Yeah.
Look at you. There's a lot of bad basketball played in the East that year, bro. Yeah. It's just here's the main thing for me, right? Like, and when it comes down to when coaches are good and when coaches are bad, when did Nick Nurse become a coach that couldn't adjust? Like that's Nick Nurse's biggest that's why they fired him. He didn't adjust.
I don't feel like Nick Nurse had the roster to make adjustments because Fred VanVleet was shooting one of his career lows. He didn't have enough shooting, and then they also had a rookie
on that roster. That's the same roster that won a championship.
Oh, they don't have the generational player. They don't have the generational player for sure.
That's it. Nick Nurse could coach all of a sudden, right? He was a great coach when it was Kawhi on the team. When Kawhi's gone, now you start to talk about he can't adjust. He can't make these type of things. He can't make these different level of plays. He's not this guy. He's right like that.
And I
That's what
totally
I need.
disagree with that.
And that's why people need to understand this. And it's the reason why I wouldn't want any of these coaches on this team right now. Your players, no matter what you believe, the coach is supposed to set the locker room. No, your players set the tone on your team.
I think it goes hand in hand, man.
You know why Spo's message can be heard? Because on every team, you had somebody that was like, shut up and listen to what he's saying before I hit you in your mouth.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's hand in hand. Like your coaching staff has to be in line with your veteran players. And I think that's really what's happening. There's not enough veteran players on some of these teams that ultimately lead to that. Like I don't think Mike Budenholzer should have been fired for the way that ended, how that ended. I don't think that should have happened.
Nah, he should have been fired just because of how he coached his defense, but that's a whole different thing. But
I think he's had some blunders in the past, but I think also people smoke him for things that are really limitations to his roster. Like Giannis is not a get you a bucket from any spot on the floor type player. So I have to keep him in a space where he can actually operate. And a lot of times that's on the move with the ball in his hands. If I got 8 seconds and he has the ball and he's going down court, I'm not calling that timeout. I'm letting my star player try to make a play. And realistically, we wouldn't even be having this conversation if Grayson Allen decided not to go for a double pump layup instead of a midi. That man had all the time in the world to go for a midi.
We're also
double pump layup.
Realistically, at the end of the day, we're not having this conversation if Giannis wasn't too scared to shoot free throws.
If Giannis hits his free throws, if Giannis plays,
no, not if he hits his free throws. They were still winning all until Giannis threw the ball away because he didn't want them to foul him.
So like that. So that's hand in hand. Like that's what I say.
But you can't. Your coach can't create leadership.
He can set the tone. He sets the tone. You have to have a player on the floor that doesn't always have to be your point guard. You have to have a player on there. But all in all, this all boils down to why realistically the trade for DeAndre Ayton may not be the move that does it. It may be us going after that veteran player who would reinforce the way Patrick Beverley did. And we're looking at Russ because it just makes it makes too much sense. Russ has the experience. Russ has that dog in him. He has experience with Billy Donovan. He's worked well with different wings. He's worked well with every wing that he's been with, to be honest with you, as he's matured in his game. So I think that's really what we should be asking. Like, what does it take to get that level of player here if we're not going to sit there and re-sign Vooch and things of that nature? Because we absolutely don't need Vooch if we can get a Russ type player. We don't need both.
No, you just need an owner that's going to let you go into the luxury tax to get them.
I need somebody to play DeAndre Drummond, and Drummond is not foul. I need Patrick Williams.
Well, that's the main thing. Listen, you can't just say play Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond also hasn't opted in either, which I don't know if he's coming back.
I think he should because I don't know anybody. Well, that's not.
He's only making $1 million next year. There's people that'll pay him more than $1 million. Yeah.
So overall,
he's not making a ton of money.
Overall, what is your the notion is that DeMar DeRozan gets traded? Do you feel let's end this on a definitive statement? Do you feel like that's the right move?
I feel like there's 2 avenues you can take. You can trade him and it can be the right move if you get back the right pieces. Or you can sign a guy and him still being here can still be the right move, and you can have a New York Knicks bounce back type of season, hopefully going further in the playoffs. But you can have that bounce back type of season because I do believe that the team you saw with Lonzo, DeMar, Zach, P. Will, Vooch was the team that AK thought he was going to get, and I think that a running type of point guard brings that team back. I think a Russell Westbrook brings that team back because we saw glimpses of it with a point guard who realistically probably isn't a top 20 point guard in the NBA.
Patrick Beverley?
Pat Bev.
You went that high?
I don't think there's that many backups ahead of him. There's not that many there's not 15 backup point guards in the NBA better than Pat Bev.
Golden State got 2.
Yeah, but one of them plays shooting guard most of the time.
Dante DiVincenzo.
Oh no, he's definitely a shooter.
He's definitely been playing point this entire time.
DiVincenzo definitely a shooter.
Orlando got 4. Knicks got 4. like
I guess based on the role they playing, I'll say, but like,
hey, that list get thick.
but even with that, right? Like, I think that's the main point, right? Like, you wherever you want to put them, it ain't top 10, it ain't top 15, it ain't top 20. So if you got him outside the top 30, you see what just having a dude that knows how to play the point guard position changed this team.
Does he start anywhere else?
Depends on what the team needs. It depends on
if you don't start, there's your top 20 right there. All the people that's already started.
That's what. Yeah. Well, yeah.
I'm just joking with you, dog. I'm
trying to think. Like, it depends on what your team needs. Probably not.
Dog, don't even put too much thought on it. This is an offhanded comment. Don't worry about it, dog.
That's the sad part. No, as you break it down, probably not. Pat Bear, you might need to lower your price. That man said he wanted $15 million.
And he ain't starting.
Hey. Now, granted, that's backup point guard money on a lot of teams, but like, hey, that's a little rich for my
That's
blood.
a lot of rich.
That's a lie from Ted Lasso. What that man said. Ted Lasso, hilarious, by the way. I've been watching that. That man said, like I told my like my doctor told me when I was eating too much chicken parm, it's a little rich for my blood. It's so stupid, I know.
I end with this definitive statement, man. Trading DeMar is only the right move if you're going to absolutely allow Zach to be Zach, and you're going to get him. If you don't get a point guard, you need a definitive shooter. I don't think you need a big. I think you allow Patrick Williams to play the forward position. I think you allow Andre Drummond, if you can retain him, which would make sense, to do that. If you're not going to bring back Vooch, if you're going to let him be the guaranteed alpha, Zach needs to be able to drive and kick. And the drive and kick means I need people to knock down shots. And so if I don't have a shooter, none of this matters. I know a point guard is the easy move, but the way the money looks and stuff like that, I need a shooter.
Yeah, I agree with you. I take it one step forward. We talk about how passive Patrick Williams is. Why don't we let him pass the ball? He can ball handle. He added ball handling to his game. He's so big, you're not going to be able to just go through his body and strip the ball away.
If you let Zach be the alpha, I've seen Zach, even when he's cooking, try to get other people involved. Yeah. If Patrick Williams is not having to worry about, how many attempts he's going to get, this is his opportunity to level up. And so that's what I look at. I don't need a DeMar DeRozan if Patrick Williams is supposed to be the next guy that steps up and be the Paul, which I think is a weird nickname to give somebody. Like, I think if he's going to be that guy, then you got to give him that opportunity, and that you have to clear out the people that impede that. Yeah. If Ayo was as a playmaker in college, let him be a playmaker.
Ayo might not be back.
But put people in their natural position. Let Zach do what Zach does. Let Ayo do what Ayo does. Like, put people in their natural position, and then give me something to judge. If Ayo's not back, then Dalen Terry was a playmaker in college.
Yeah.
Hey, who was it? Ben Mathurin, right?
The least amount of minutes played by an 18th overall pick in NBA history.
Ben Mathurin was the guy he was diming up, though, right?
Yeah.
He looked real good in college, didn't he?
Oh yeah, no. I think that's. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think that's why AK drafted Dalen.
Hey, let that man go out there and cook.
This is the weird part. I think AK and Billy Donovan are really out here redshirting mugs. Like, Dalen got redshirted this year.
I don't think they realize this ain't the NFL.
I mean, even in the NFL, like, there are players that can come in
after NBA.
Not his thing. Not on the Chicago Bulls. Billy Donovan's here. I told y'all this for a while. Billy Donovan gonna be here for 5 years minimum. AK is gonna be here for 10 years minimum.
AK, I believe you. Billy Donovan, I don't believe.
Billy Donovan will be here for 5 years.
I
Mark
think Billy
my
Donovan.
words.
I think this is Billy Donovan's last season to actually get something there. And if he doesn't really turn it around, they're gonna fire him.
Hey, bro, Jim Boylan got 4 years on this team.
Nobody wanted to come to Chicago because we sucked that bad, Pat. We actually got some talent on this roster.
Oh no, you can get a head coach. There was some
We
head
got
coaches
some
that
talent
actually
over.
wanted to be here. We chose Jim Boylan.
There's nobody that listen. Okay, I trust your judgment on that one.
Hey, I'm just telling you, the Chicago Bulls aren't the NBA. The NBA might fire coaches quickly. The Chicago Bulls will have Billy Donovan here for a minimum of 5 years, or until Billy Donovan says, "I don't want to do this anymore." That has also happened.
I tell you what, y'all. Regardless, we've talked about this. We've rambled a little bit, but this is the type of conundrum that we're in.
15-minute video.
It's never 15 minutes with me and you, which is why we actually need to. They need to go ahead and throw some money behind this show because this is going to be entertaining when they finally do. I'll tell you that.
Now.
Listen, but I'm just
saying, entertaining for free.
Beam me up, Scotty. Like, hey, beam me up. What? But no, all in all, we want to hear your comments, man. We want to hear everyone's comments on whether or not Ayton to the Bulls really makes sense. What you all feel about Russell Westbrook? I mean, realistically, we're in such a conundrum, and we are kind of in this position where it's like, God dang, we had real good hope, but it didn't really turn out. Now it's going to like horrifically bad at this point. We lost the pick. We lost the 2025 pick. What else we get?
We got a 2024 pick still. And we still got the Portland pick that we'll never, because Portland's never gonna make the playoffs again. So we'll have that pick forever until 2029. In 2029, it turns into a unprotected pick.
Hey, dog, it's 2023.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, listen, we're in a very interesting situation, but we want to hear your thoughts, man. The Bulls have left us with this bad taste in our mouths that hopefully the Chicago Bears could come around and save the city because it's getting bad quick. Getting bad real quick. Pat, any parting words for him, man, before we get up out of here?
Hey, man, make sure to stay tuned with us, man. We'll have more content dropping throughout the day. Make sure to check us out over on the Chicago Bears podcast on ESPN Chicago. And tip your waiters. I don't know.
Man, this is like a depressing way to end the morning live. Like I feel like we brought them up and then let them down at the end. It's like they're gonna go to work depressed. Like, oh my God, my team sucks. Like, God,
well. Hey guys, I don't know if y'all noticed, but
y'all be safe out there, man.
Peace.